if you, like me, were traumatized by the presidential fitness test as a kid, you are not cheesed at the fact that Donald Trump has decided to revive it. Now, Barack Obama did away with the presidential fitness test, saying that it made kids more competitive and it wasn't good for them. But like straight up, the presidential fitness test was bad for kids on so many levels. Not only did it create weird competitiveness between kids over things that like you shouldn't be competitive over, but it did a damn good job of creating negative self-body image for children, making them feel that they were incapable, making them feel bad about their body shape and what their body could or couldn't do. I mean, it always felt very like Hitler Jugend to me, or like Cold War Soviet propaganda. Like, why are we making kids have to climb a rope to the top as fast as they can? Why are we making little kids have to do chin-ups in front of each other, like as many sit-ups as you can possibly do? It wasn't really an assessment of fitness. It was just a bizarre ritual that we had to go through that all made us feel really bad. And for me, I felt that the worst part of it was that the PE teachers had these horrible calipers, these metal calipers, and they would go around and measure your body fat to assess your fitness. Y'all, I was the skinniest kid. They couldn't pinch shit on me. And so when they had to come and pinch your underarms to measure, they got all of my tricep muscle because they couldn't pinch anything else. And so my results ended up coming back that I was obese. It was just the most ridiculous. It was so nonsensical and pointless. Like, y'all, I did swim team. I played basketball. I was a physical kid. I was an outdoorsy kid. And I couldn't climb that rope to the top and back down. And I remember feeling such shame and humiliation as all of my peers, it was Texas, so it was, everybody sat around and watched me as I tried to climb to the top, and I couldn't fucking do it. I had to climb a rope when I had never been taught how to climb a rope. I'd never done it before. The very first time I had to get up there and do it in front of all of my classmates. I was being timed and it was being recorded. Same thing for the running a mile. I had asthma and I wasn't allowed to use my inhaler before the run. You want to know how that turned out for me? Again, like I played basketball, running wasn't the issue. I don't know. Did you have to do the presidential fitness test? Was it as traumatizing for you as it was for me? I can't imagine being a child with more severe anxiety than I had, having to perform in that way and be judged in that way and have your body measured in front of other people in that way. What a shit thing to put kids through. Anyway, Donald Trump is bringing it back for today's youth. And I know I have said from the very beginning when he was up for confirmation that RFK Jr. is one of the most dangerous people in this administration. We often overlook him because brainworms, because, he seems bumbling and silly and ludicrous. He is incredibly, incredibly dangerous. And I think reading between the lines, it is largely because of RFK Jr. that this is coming back. So Trump's statement when he reinstituted this program, from the late 1950s until 2013, graduate scholars all across our country competed against each other in the presidential fitness test. It was a big deal. This was a wonderful tradition and we're bringing it back. I don't know what he means by graduate scholars. It's kids ages 10 to 17 that have to do it twice a year. It's children who are being made to do this, not graduate scholars. Trump is also reestablishing the Presidential Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition, and he is having them craft the criteria for this test. It is, of course, being overseen by RFK Jr. Again, it is RFK's Make America Healthy Again report that was released back in May that said that children in America were experiencing a decline in physical fitness levels and rising rates of obesity and what he called a, quote, childhood chronic disease crisis. So I'm sure RFK Jr. had a hand in writing this order to restart the presidential fitness test because it says rates of obesity, chronic disease, inactivity, and poor nutrition are at crisis levels, particularly among our children. These trends weaken our economy, military readiness, and academic performance and national morale. That's some fascist shit right there. Really, it's not about your quality of life as an American. It's not about your children having a good, safe, healthy childhood. It's about weakening our economy and our military readiness. Wild that this statement says that there are concerning rates of poor nutrition amongst America's children, but Republicans in Congress just voted to cut SNAP benefits for America's hungriest kids. They voted to cut nutrition assistance, and the Trump regime has cut a number of important school lunch programs that benefit children and farmers around the country. So I just want to make it really clear here that if this regime really cares about children's health and wellness, the way to improve their health and wellness is not just to test them twice a year, unlike jumping jacks and sit-ups and push-ups and a 1-mile run. That's not going to make any of our kids healthier. It was Eisenhower who instituted this presidential fitness test, but John F. Kennedy was also a big fan of it. He actually wrote what was considered a very influential essay in Sports Illustrated in 1960 entitled The Soft American. And it's something that has been inspirational to RFK Jr. It's something that he's really clung to. And I don't know how much that essay really seeded the crazy that he is now, but I think it definitely had an influence. In fact, RFK Jr. referenced JFK's article when he was introducing the rollout of the new presidential fitness test. He said that his uncle, JFK, was lamenting the fact that America had prided itself on a beef jerky toughness and that we were falling behind the Europeans. We were falling behind other nations. I mean, Lyndon Johnson was also really interested in the presidential fitness. It was all about having youth, young men who were in good physical shape so that they could serve in the military. It was all about creating soldiers that were physically able to be drafted, that met the requirements to be able to enlist. It really became a tool for trying to create soldiers for the United States Army. So critics have long said that not only was it humiliating for children to go through this process and create a negative body image, but also it was not a good assessment of somebody's physical capabilities. It was not an effective test in the first place. And it did nothing to help create healthier lifestyles for the children who were subjected to that test 1 to 2 times a year. So based on expert advice, the Obama administration got rid of it. But of course, it makes sense when the man running Health and Human Services is RFK Jr., a eugenicist. He may have a bunch of wormholes in his brain, but he is in charge of our public health. And he is a crazy eugenicist. He and Donald Trump running a fascist regime, of course they are going to implement something like this. But of course, y'all, it makes perfect fucking sense with eugenicist RFK Jr. running public health for this country that something like this would get reinstituted. It makes perfect sense. Under a fascist regime, there is always a preoccupation with fitness and a very, very specific aesthetic, very specific white, able-bodied aesthetic. The concern here is not the well-being of the American people. The concern is for the economy, which is wild considering Trump is tanking the economy and also making sure that we have able-bodied soldiers to fight the wars that Donald Trump is going to drag us into. It also, of course, is about eugenics. It is about the promotion of the acceptability of only a very specific kind of body that can do very specific things. It's absolutely about ableism. It's absolutely about saying if your body doesn't look the way the regime tells you is acceptable, if your body does not perform in a way the regime says is good and acceptable, then we can justify dehumanizing you. We can justify punishments against you. We can justify taking away your rights. We can justify sending you to work farms, taking away your health care, and eventually we'll do things like justify sterilizing you. This is a natural progression under a fascist regime. So I understand it sucks. A lot of us are thinking about how bad this is going to be for kids because we had such negative experiences with it, but understand there's a greater agenda at play here. This is not about making America healthy again. This is not about making our kids healthy. Everything RFK Jr. is doing is about promoting a policy of eugenics.